Hello, I am Barendipitous with another video for the board game shelf. Here I have another, I guess technically a kind of collectible card game sort of thing, but again, I have it on my board game shelf because it is once again it is a ready to play kind of product. So this is Keyforge. This is a unique deck game that was designed by Richard Garfield, the same guy who designed Magic the Gathering. Richard Garfield actually designed a lot of games. But Keyforge really caught my eye because it is made by Fantasy Flight Games. I do like that publisher. I like their games. But basically, and there's a cool there's two play mats in here, just paper poster play mats essentially. Um, but yeah, there are a lot of really interesting ideas in Keyforge, and I have contemplated getting more things for Keyforge, but I just haven't. I couldn't really justify any additional purchases besides this. This is basically a like beginners like a starter set essentially. It has everything you need to play because this game does use a bunch of different tokens. But the idea is that you don't collect cards; you collect decks. So when you purchase like cards outside of a starter set, you buy an entire deck, all by itself. You basically unwrap the deck and you figure out what kind of deck it is, right? There's some of what's unique about Keyforge is that these decks are not randomized. There's some kind of like algorithm behind building a deck, and you never know what's going to be in your deck. But if you look at this beginning card here, it gives you like a sort of randomized name and like sort of symbol, and each deck focuses on three different factions. And I think there's like 7 or 9 factions total in the game. But each deck has 3 factions, and each of these factions cares about different like mechanics or strategies and things like that. Um, but yeah, you have things like spells, equipment, monsters, and all kinds of things. I love the art style. This kind of cool sort of like colorful sci-fi art style here. So yeah, so this one's called Phony Pagani, and here this one is called WL Carteroid of the Armed Aerodrome, with those factions there. And yeah, I cannot remember what the I have like my wife and I have played with both these decks a couple of times. I cannot remember exactly what all the strategies are. For these, but we have enjoyed them. There's a kind of like I said, algorithm, so like machine learning kind of like thing, and then to as far as like how the decks are constructed. So that's why it's called a unique deck game, because you don't buy cards, you don't buy individual cards or booster packs. You buy a deck, and I think each deck is about like $10 or something like that. So it gets expensive pretty quickly if you buy a bunch of decks. And I have considered buying more decks because I can fit at least like 2 more with this insert. And if I took this cardboard insert out, I could probably fit a bunch of decks in here, probably like 6 to 8 or something like that. Maybe more like 6. But I haven't purchased any other decks because my wife and I don't really play this very often, and I don't really have anyone else to play with right now for Keyforge except my wife. And we both do enjoy it on occasion. But the aim of the game, the point of the game is basically to forge keys, and keys are these round tokens here. They start off sort of like empty, and then you have these things called amber that you build, sort of like gather throughout the game. And if you have 6, I believe if you have you spend 6 amber to flip a key token over to show that you have forged a key, and you win if you're the first player to forge 3 keys. So that's what these tokens are for. Got these key tokens, and there's lots of other tokens to symbolize, to kind of keep track of amber, keep track of status effects, keep track of damage, and a couple other things as well. So I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by the ideas in this game. Oh, another thing too. So on the unlike Magic, where for Magic the Gathering, in order to play cards, you need to have enough mana, right? Like there's an energy, like a mana resource kind of a thing to it, right? That's not the case for this game. Oh, whatever. Essentially, every single card belongs to one faction, right? I said each deck has 3 factions in it. So each card is part of a particular faction, which you can see the symbol in the top left there. And again, each faction has a different sort of like style or strategy of play, and you kind of have to work together with the factions. But the interesting thing is, you'll notice there's no mana costs on any of these at all. And these amber symbols, that just means that if you have this card in play, then you can use this card to generate 1 amber or something. But so what prevents you from playing whatever card you want? Well, basically the idea is at the start of your turn, you declare which faction you're going to focus on for your turn, right? Let's say I want to focus on, I forgot what faction this was called. Let's say the Star faction, right? That means whatever I have in my hand, and whenever I have like, not only can I only play cards with Star faction cards, but I can only use I can only use the actions, or I can only attack with cards of that faction as well. So even if I had like these 2 cards, if I had like these 3 cards here in play in front of me, and I declared and I said that I wanted to focus on the Star faction on my turn, I can't use these 2 cards at all. I can only use this one on my turn. But I still have these cards for like various other purposes, maybe for defense or something. But yeah, I think that's really cool. Like you kind of have to think about, you have to plan ahead a little bit and think about what you have in your hand, what you have on the field, what is going to be most advantageous to you to like get you the amber that you need, or get rid of your opponent's like cards and things like that. So yeah, Keyforge, really cool, and it kind of has its own cool little world as well. There's a lot of decks, and this game has been like, you know, um, this game had a bit of a hiatus, but I think it's coming back now with a new publisher and stuff. But yeah, I think Keyforge is really cool, and I'm glad that I have a starter set to at least to have 2 decks with to play with all the tokens and everything. So yeah, that is Keyforge. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, all the best.